The mechanic's words echoed in my head like a shotgun blast in an empty hallway. Back again? You look different. I stood there in the Jiffy Lube on Maple Street, holding my coffee, the same burnt coffee they'd been serving for the past decade, and tried to process what Jake had just said. The kid was maybe 25, eager, always remembered his customers. Good for business, usually. Today, his memory was about to destroy my life. Last time, I managed, setting the paper cup down on the counter. My hand was steady. That surprised me. Yeah, 2 months ago. With your wife? The blonde lady? Jake wiped his hands on an already greasy rag, completely oblivious to the ground shifting beneath my feet. August 15th, I think. You guys were laughing about something. She said you were her workout motivation or something? August 15th, a Wednesday. I was at Theodore Roosevelt High School that day, dealing with freshman orientation prep. 63 incoming students, nervous parents, my assistant principal Margaret breathing down my neck about schedule conflicts. Claire had her quarterly planning meeting, the one that supposedly ran until 10 that night. She'd come home exhausted, crawled into bed smelling like her lavender body wash, complaining about PowerPoints and revenue projections. You sure it was me? The question came out casual, like I was asking about the weather. Jake's face scrunched up, that expression people get when they think you're testing them. He turned to his computer, fingers flying across the keyboard with the confidence of his generation. Here it is, August 15th, 2 in the afternoon. Oil change and tire rotation on the Honda CR-V. Says right here, customer and husband waited in lobby. That's weird, though. What's weird? You paid cash. You always use your Chase card. I remember because you're the only one who still signs the receipt instead of doing the PIN. Cash. We never paid cash for car services. Everything went on the rewards card, 2% back on all purchases. Claire's idea to maximize our benefits. She tracked every point in a spreadsheet. Must have forgotten my wallet, I heard myself say. But Jake wasn't done. Professional pride, maybe, or just that helpful nature that made him good at customer service. Yeah, and the tall guy, your workout buddy? He had one of those CrossFit gym shirts. You guys seemed really happy. Made me think I should start working out again. He patted his slight belly self-consciously. Tall guy. I'm 5'8" in dress shoes. The closest I get to CrossFit is walking past the gym on University Avenue during my lunch supervision rounds. My workout routine consists of pacing the halls during passing periods and climbing the bleachers during football games. Right, I said. Forgot about that. I made it through the oil change, listening to Jake chatter about synthetic versus conventional oil, pretending to care about the air filter he was trying to upsell me on. Paid with my Chase card, signed the receipt with my usual scrawl, and drove home on autopilot. Claire's Honda was in the driveway when I pulled up to our Colonial on Elm Street. Same house we'd bought 11 years ago when I got promoted to assistant principal. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, good schools, though that last part was technically my job to ensure. The American dream wrapped in vinyl siding and a 30-year mortgage. I sat in my car for a moment, staring at her CR-V. Silver, practical, with the stick figure family on the back window, man, woman, no kids yet, but trying, as she told anyone who asked. That conversation always made me uncomfortable. The truth was more complicated. We'd been trying for 5 years with no success. The fertility tests showed no problems on either side. Unexplained infertility, the doctors called it. Sometimes things just don't work, they said. Keep trying. But when had we last tried? Really tried? Not the mechanical scheduled attempts during ovulation windows, but the spontaneous, passionate kind that created babies in the back seats of cars and honeymoon suites. I couldn't remember. Inside, Claire was in the kitchen making her Saturday smoothie. The Vitamix whirred like a jet engine, pulverizing kale and whatever else she put in those green concoctions. She'd started this health kick 4 months ago, right round the time she'd joined the gym. Car all set. She didn't look up from the blender, measuring protein powder with the precision of a chemist. Yeah, all good. I watched her move around our kitchen. Yoga pants that hugged curves I didn't remember her having. A fitted tank top from Lululemon. When had she started shopping there? Her blonde hair was in a high ponytail that swayed when she moved. She looked good. Better than good. She looked like the Claire I'd married 15 years ago, plus something else. Confidence, maybe. Or satisfaction. I'm thinking of upgrading our security, I said, pulling a beer from the fridge. Saturday afternoon beer, another ritual. There have been some incidents at school. This was partially true. We'd had 3 cars broken into in the faculty lot over the summer. Nothing taken. Kids looking for unlocked doors and spare change. But Claire didn't need the details. She paused, just for a fraction of a second. The Vitamix cycled down, and she poured the green sludge into her special glass. What kind of security? Cameras, mainly. Maybe some for the cars, too. Dash cams. Seems excessive for our neighborhood. She took a sip, grimaced slightly. She always did, no matter how many times she claimed to love the taste. Better safe than sorry. Thompson's State Farm office got hit last month. They're hitting the suburbs now. This was a complete lie. Thompson State Farm was fine, but I needed to see her reaction. Whatever you think is best, honey. She rinsed the blender, every movement precise and practiced. I'm going to shower. Melissa wants to check out that new wine bar tonight. Girls' night. You don't mind, do you? Course not. Have fun. She kissed my cheek as she passed, quick, dry, perfunctory, like signing a receipt. When had our kisses become transactions? That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan's lazy rotation. Claire was beside me, having come home at a reasonable hour from her girls' night. She smelled wrong. Not bad, just wrong. Her usual lavender body wash was there, but underneath it was something else, something masculine. Cologne, maybe, or just the scent of betrayal. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up briefly, a notification from some app I didn't recognize. She'd changed her passcode recently. They had a security breach at work, she'd explained. It is making everyone update their passwords. Everything was about security these days, apparently. Sunday morning, I went back to Jiffy Lube. Different excuse this time, concerned about a rattling noise that didn't exist. Jake wasn't working weekends, which was perfect. I wasn't there for him anyway. I want to upgrade to your premium security package, I told the manager, a guy named Dennis who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on a Sunday morning. The one with the dash cam. He perked up at the mention of premium anything. Commission, probably. We've got a few options. Basic forward-facing dual channel with rear camera or the full setup with cabin monitoring. The full setup. That's the Viofo A139 Pro. 3 channels, front, rear, and cabin. 4K resolution upfront, 1080p for the others. Night vision, motion detection, parking mode. Works great for rideshare drivers, families with teen drivers. He paused, reading something in my expression. Or just general security. Can the wiring be hidden? Absolutely. We do professional installation. You won't even know it's there unless you're looking for it. Perfect. I waited in their lobby, different coffee, same burnt taste, reading the manual cover to cover. The system was more sophisticated than I'd expected. GPS tracking, automatic cloud backup when connected to Wi-Fi, smartphone app for remote viewing. The cabin camera was tiny, smaller than a bottle cap, designed to be mounted near the rearview mirror. Nearly invisible if you weren't looking for it. The installer, a young woman named Amy, walked me through the features. The motion detection is really sensitive. It'll start recording if anyone comes near the car. The G sensor activates if there's an impact. And if you hardwire it to the battery, it can run in parking mode for days. What about the cloud backup? If you connect it to a Wi-Fi hotspot, it'll automatically upload footage. Most people use their phone's hotspot. The files are compressed, so it doesn't use too much data. Claire's car was already set up with her phone as a hotspot for the entertainment system. She'd never notice an extra device connecting. How much footage can it store? The 256 GB card holds about 40 hours of 3-channel recording, but with the cloud backup, you've got unlimited storage. The app lets you download clips, create compilations, export everything. Compilations. I wondered if she knew how prophetic that word would become. I had them install the system that afternoon, paying cash. Ironic, considering that's what had started this whole investigation. They hid the wiring beautifully, tucking it behind panels and along existing cable runs. The cameras were nearly invisible. The cabin camera in particular was a masterpiece of concealment. Your wife's not going to be surprised by this? Amy asked as she finished up, something in her tone suggesting she'd installed a few of these for suspicious spouses. It's a surprise for her safety, I said. Not technically a lie. That evening, I set up the app on my phone, created the cloud account, and tested everything. The quality was stunning. I could read the registration tags on cars 3 lanes away. The cabin camera captured every detail of the interior in crystal clarity. Audio recording was optional, but enabled by default. I left it on. Monday was a normal day. I forced myself not to check the app during school hours, focusing on my actual job. We had a situation with 2 junior boys fighting over a girl. Teenage drama that seemed quaint compared to my adult version. I gave them my standard speech about respect and conflict resolution, wondering if I should take my own advice. Claire's Monday was mundane, according to the footage I reviewed that night in my home office. She drove to work at Preston Marketing, taking her usual route down Highway 52. Stopped at Starbucks, mobile order, quick pickup. Parked in her assigned spot at 8:47 a.m. The car sat empty all day except for her lunch break, which she spent in the car eating a salad and scrolling through her phone. Left at 5:15 p.m., straight home. No detours, no passengers, no evidence of anything untoward. I felt simultaneously relieved and disappointed. Maybe Jake had been confused. Maybe there was an innocent explanation. Maybe I was turning into one of those paranoid husbands who see cheating in every shadow. Tuesday changed everything. At 5:30 p.m., Claire left her office. Normal departure time. But instead of heading home, she drove to LA Fitness on University Avenue. Also normal, it was a Tuesday. One of her workout days. She'd been religious about Tuesdays and Thursdays for the past 4 months. Consistency is key, she told me. My trainer says you can't build habits without routine. I watched the footage on my laptop, headphones on, office door locked. She pulled into the parking lot at 5:43 p.m., found a spot near the front. Very near the front. Premium location for someone supposedly about to work out. At 5:50 p.m., the passenger door opened. I had to rewind to see where he'd come from. He'd exited the gym's front entrance at 5:48, walked directly to her car with the confidence of someone who'd done this many times before. No hesitation, no looking around for the right vehicle. He knew exactly where she'd be parked. He was everything Jake had described. Tall, maybe 6'2" or 6'3". Built like someone who lived in the gym. Tank top that showed arms with veins like road maps. Dark hair cut short, jaw that could cut glass. The kind of guy who probably counted macros and had inspirational quotes tattooed in places Claire had seen but I hadn't. He slid into the passenger seat with fluid grace. I held my breath, waiting. They sat there for maybe 10 seconds, just looking at each other. Then he leaned over and kissed my wife. Not a greeting peck. Not a friendly hello. The kind of kiss that spoke of history, of hunger, of habit. Her hand came up to his face, fingers threading through his hair. They stayed like that for 30 seconds that felt like 30 years. When they finally broke apart, she was smiling in a way I hadn't seen in years. Glowing, actually. Like a woman in love. "Missed you yesterday," he said. The audio was perfect, like they were putting on a show just for me. "I know, baby." Baby. She called him baby. Nathan had some school thing. Couldn't get away. School thing. I'd been at a PTA meeting until 8, presenting the budget for the new computer lab. She'd known exactly where I was and when I'd be home. Your place or mine? His hand was on her thigh, casual ownership in the gesture. Yours. Nathan has his principal association dinner tonight. I didn't have any dinner. I'd told her I'd be working late on state testing prep, giving her the freedom she apparently craved. The lies came so easily to her, like she'd been practicing. She drove him to the Riverside Apartments, a complex about 15 minutes from the gym. Nice enough place. Not luxury, but not a dump either. Young professionals and empty nesters, from what I could tell. Unit 2B, second floor, end of the hallway. He had his keys out before they even reached the building. The timestamps told the rest of the story. Arrived at 6:07 p.m. Camera faced an empty car for the next 2 hours and 37 minutes. She emerged at 8:44 p.m., hair different than when she'd gone in, shirt untucked in a way that suggested hasty dressing. He walked her back to the car, another kiss. This one slower, more lingering. "See you Thursday?" she asked. Wouldn't miss it. Love you. Love you too. Love, present tense. Active verb. Not falling for or starting to have feelings. Established love. The kind that had taken root and grown while I was focused on standardized test scores and budget meetings. She drove him back to the gym, where presumably his car was parked. Quick kiss goodbye. He went inside, maintaining the illusion, I supposed. She drove home, stopping at CVS on the way. Came out with a bag. Gum, probably. Or body spray. Something to cover the evidence. I was in bed pretending to sleep when she got home at 9:23 p.m. She slipped in quietly, headed straight for the shower. A long shower. Washing away the evidence, or maybe just savoring the memory. When she finally came to bed, She smelled like lavender and lies. "How was your day?" she asked in the darkness. "Long? Productive? You?" "Same. Really tough workout. I'm gonna be sore tomorrow." "I'll bet you are," I thought, but didn't say. Wednesday's footage showed the same pattern. Thursday too. By the end of the week, I had enough evidence to end my marriage 10 times over. But I needed more. I needed to know who he was, how long this had been going on, how stupid I'd been. Friday afternoon, I left school early. "Not feeling well," I told Margaret, my assistant principal. "Think I'm coming down with something." "You look terrible," she said, which was probably true. I hadn't been sleeping well. I drove to LA Fitness, parking far from the entrance. Inside, the smell of rubber and sweat and industrial cleaning products hit me like a wall. I hadn't been in a gym since college, and it showed. "Can I help you?" The receptionist was young, perky, probably a student at the community college. "I'm interested in personal training. Could I see your trainer profiles?" "Of course. They're right over here." She led me to a wall of photos and bios. Trainers of every shape and specialty, all smiling like they'd found the secret to eternal happiness through deadlifts and protein shakes. And there he was. Third row, second from the left. Brad Stevens, strength and conditioning specialist, certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, competition prep expert. His bio talked about transforming lives through fitness, about the mind-body connection, about helping clients achieve their goals inside and outside the gym. Apparently, nailing married women was one of those outside the gym goals. "Brad's amazing," the receptionist gushed. "He's got a wait list, but I might be able to squeeze you in. He's had some incredible transformations." "I bet he has." That night, I dove deep into social media. Brad Stevens had the online presence of someone who thought followers equaled worth. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Thousands of posts about fitness, nutrition, motivation, shirtless selfies with inspirational quotes, client transformation photos. And there, 3 months back, was my wife. Incredible transformation. So proud of this amazing woman's dedication. 4 months of hard work paying off. Hash transformation Tuesday, hash client success, hash personal training, hash fitness journey. The before photo was Claire from last Christmas. Happy but soft around the edges, the way she'd been for the last few years. Comfortable marriage weight, she'd called it, laughing about how we'd both let ourselves go a little. The after photo was recent, toned, glowing, wearing workout clothes I'd never seen. Nike sports bra and tiny shorts that showed legs that had clearly been doing more than just squats. The comments were a masterclass in barely disguised flirtation. "Looking amazing, Claire. Keep it up." Brad, "Couldn't have done it without the best trainer ever." Claire, "The pleasure is all mine." Brad, fire emoji. Claire, fire emoji. My 41-year-old wife was using fire emojis. I scrolled through more posts, finding a pattern. Claire appeared regularly, form check videos, motivational posts, success stories, always carefully cropped to show her body, but not her face clearly. Plausible deniability, perhaps. Or Brad being smart enough not to advertise that he was sleeping with clients. Our credit card statements confirmed what I already knew. Personal training sessions, twice weekly, $100 each. Started 4 months ago, right when her transformation began. She'd told me it was a group fitness package, part of a special promotion. $800 a month for group classes seemed steep, but I'd been happy she was taking care of herself. Happy. What a joke. The second week brought more footage, more evidence, more nails in the coffin of my marriage. Their conversations grew more intimate. I learned things about my wife I'd never known, or maybe had forgotten. She hated her job but loved the money. She felt trapped in our small town life. She wanted to travel, Bali specifically, where Brad had competed in some fitness competition. She was working on leaving but needed to time it right. After school ends, she told him one Thursday evening as he drove her back to the gym. I don't want to hurt Nathan during the school year. It wouldn't be fair to make him deal with a divorce while managing graduation and everything. How considerate of her. Planning the destruction of our marriage around my professional calendar. I'm tired of sharing you, Brad said, his hand on her knee as he drove. Just a few more months, baby. Then we can be together for real. Get that apartment downtown you showed me. Start fresh. What about kids? You still want them? My chest tightened. Kids. The thing we'd been trying for. The thing that had driven us to fertility specialists and timed intercourse and monthly disappointment. With you? Absolutely. I think our problem was just compatibility. Nathan's a good guy, but there's no passion. You can't make a baby without passion. A good guy, like a participation trophy. Thanks for playing. Better luck next life. I started preparing for the end with the methodical precision I used for state inspections. First, the lawyer. Denise Hartman came highly recommended. Shark in Prada, one review had called her. Her office was downtown, all glass and sharp edges, like her reputation. This is comprehensive, she said, reviewing the footage compilation I'd created. Timestamps, locations, audio clips, irrefutable evidence of adultery, compiled with the same attention to detail I used for student discipline files. Will it be enough? She actually laughed. Mr. Torres, in 20 years of practice, I've never seen documentation this thorough. Most people have blurry photos or suspicious text messages. You have a feature film. We discussed strategy. Minnesota was a no-fault divorce state, but adultery still mattered for property division and alimony. With Claire making nearly as much as I did at her marketing job, alimony was unlikely anyway. The house was in both our names, but I'd put down the deposit from my inheritance when Grandma Torres died. That would factor in. When do you want to proceed? Denise asked. End of the school year. I've got graduation, contracts for next year, teacher evaluations. I can't have this exploding while I'm trying to run a school. Smart. We'll prepare everything now. Protect your assets quietly. When you're ready, we'll move fast. She won't know what hit her. Over the next 2 months, I became someone I didn't recognize. By day, I was Principal Torres, firm but fair, dedicated to education, pillar of the community. By night, I was a forensic accountant, a private investigator, a method actor playing the role of devoted husband. I separated our finances with surgical precision, opened new accounts at different banks, moved money in small increments to avoid attention, changed beneficiaries on life insurance policies during routine updates, documented every asset, every debt, every purchase made during our marriage. Claire noticed nothing. She was too busy living her double life. Tuesdays and Thursdays at Brad's apartment. Occasional Saturday shopping trips that ended at the riverside. Sunday brunches with the girls that were really breakfast in bed with her trainer. The lies became more elaborate. A weekend conference in Milwaukee that was really 2 days at a bed and breakfast in Stillwater. I had the receipts from her accidentally using our joint card for gas. A girls' night that turned into an overnight because Melissa had too much wine and needed support, while Melissa's Instagram showed her home with her kids that same night. I watched it all unfold in high definition, listened to their plans in surround sound. They discussed moving to California, where Brad had connections in the fitness industry, talked about opening their own gym together, made love in his apartment while I sat in school board meetings. The banality of evil, playing out in workout clothes and protein shakes. The hardest part was maintaining normalcy at home, smiling at breakfast, asking about her day, pretending to believe her increasingly ridiculous excuses, even attempting intimacy occasionally, though she always had reasons to decline. Tired from work, sore from the gym, getting her period, tracked it, she wasn't. "You've been distant lately," she said one night in May, curled on her side of the bed with an ocean of cold sheets between us. "End of year stress. You know how it is. Maybe we should plan a vacation this summer. Reconnect. When's the last time we went anywhere, just the two of us?" The irony of her suggesting a couples' retreat while planning to leave me was almost poetic. "That sounds nice. Where were you thinking?" "Somewhere tropical. Bali, maybe?" Of course, Brad's favorite place. Brad's. I wondered if she was testing me, seeing if I'd picked up on their conversations. But her face was innocent in the dim light, just a wife suggesting a vacation to save a marriage she'd already destroyed. "I'll look into it," I lied. She smiled, reached across the divide to squeeze my hand. "I love you, Nathan. You know that, right?" "I know," I lied again. The end-of-year faculty party was scheduled for the first Friday in June. As principal, I always gave a closing speech, something inspirational to send the teachers off for summer, recognition for retirements and achievements, hope for the coming year. This year, I prepared something special. The party was at the Hilton downtown, the same ballroom where we'd held prom 2 weeks earlier. Claire came as she always did, playing the role of supportive principal's wife. She wore the red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, the one that made her look like the woman I'd married. She'd done her hair. Her makeup was perfect. For a moment, standing in the hotel lobby, I remembered why I'd fallen in love with her. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, smiled slightly, typed a quick response. Brad, probably, wishing he was her date instead of me. "Ready?" I asked, offering my arm. "Of course." She took it and we walked in together. The perfect couple, the successful educator and his beautiful wife. If only they knew. The party went as these things do. Teachers letting loose after a long year. The PE department doing shots at the bar. The English department arguing about the Oxford comma. Margaret, my assistant principal, already 3 wines in and telling anyone who'd listen about her summer plans to hike the Appalachian Trail. When it came time for speeches, I took the podium with unusual calm. The room settled, 200 colleagues and their spouses waiting for my traditional closing remarks. Good evening, everyone. Another year in the books. Another group of seniors sent off into the world. Another summer of possibility ahead of us. Polite applause. Claire sat at our table near the front, scrolling through her phone, not even pretending to pay attention. "I want to talk tonight about integrity. It's a word we use a lot in education. We expect it from our students. We model it in our classrooms. But what does it really mean?" Now I had their attention. This wasn't my usual speech about rest and rejuvenation. Integrity is wholeness. It's being the same person in the darkness that you are in the light. It's honoring your commitments even when no one's watching. It's choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. Claire looked up from her phone, perhaps sensing the shift in tone. We stand in front of teenagers every day and tell them that character matters. That honesty isn't just a policy, it's a way of life. That their choices define them. But do we live that truth ourselves? Murmurs in the crowd. Teachers exchanging glances. I have learned something this year. Truth has a way of surfacing. Secrets don't stay buried. And when the light finally shines on what's been hidden, it's not the mistake that defines us. It's how we handle the revelation. Claire's face had gone pale. She was staring at me now, phone forgotten in her lap. So, as we head into summer, I challenge all of us, myself included, to live with integrity, to be worthy of the trust placed in us, to remember that education isn't just about what we teach, it's about who we are. I raised my glass of water. To truth, to consequences, to the courage to face both. Have a wonderful summer, everyone. The applause was confused but polite. People weren't sure what they'd just heard, but they sensed weight behind the words. Claire was frozen in her seat as I returned to the table. Interesting speech, she managed. Thought it was time for something different. We stayed another hour, making rounds, playing our parts. Claire's smile never quite reached her eyes. She kept checking her phone, probably texting Brad about my weird behavior. Warning him, maybe, or seeking comfort. The drive home was silent. 20 minutes of suburban streets and unspoken accusations. She tried once to break the tension. Are you okay? You seemed off tonight. Never better. Just ready for summer. At home, she kicked off her heels and collapsed on the couch, the red dress riding up her thighs. God, I thought that would never end. I'm exhausted. Long week? You have no idea. Oh, but I did. I knew about Wednesday's extended lunch with Brad, Thursday's emergency client meeting that were really apartment hunting online, today's text exchange about weekend plans while she was supposed to be working. Hey, I said, pulling out my laptop. Want to see something interesting? She looked wary. If it's another one of your budget presentations. No, something different. Remember when I installed that security system? Every muscle in her body tensed. Yeah? Well, it's been really educational. I connected the laptop to our 65-inch TV, the one she'd insisted we needed for movie nights we never had anymore. See, I didn't just get cameras for the house. The screen came to life. There she was in 4K glory, sitting in her CRV. Tuesday, May 3rd, 5:47 p.m. Brad walking toward the car. The timestamp ticked forward like a doomsday clock. Nathan, just watch. It gets better. The kiss, his hand in her hair, her soft moan of pleasure, every detail captured in cinematic quality. Then the audio, crystal clear. Missed you yesterday? I know, baby. Nathan had some school thing. Claire's face was the color of old paper. She sat frozen, watching her double life play out on our television. I'd edited it professionally. All the highlights from 3 months of surveillance. Every kiss, every I love you, every lie about where she was going. The apartment visits with timestamps. The overnight with Melissa, while Melissa was posting from her kid's soccer game. The compilation was 43 minutes long. I let it play to the end, then turned to face her. She hadn't moved, hadn't blinked, had barely breathed. 4 months of footage, I said conversationally. Every Tuesday and Thursday, some Saturdays. That weekend in Stillwater was particularly nice. Good choice on the bed and breakfast. How? Her voice was barely a whisper. Dashcam. 3 channels. Amazing what technology can do these days. I stood, straightened my tie. The divorce papers are on the kitchen counter. I've been generous with the terms considering. You'll want to sign them. Nathan, wait. We need to talk about this. I can explain. No, you really can't. And we really don't. I picked up the overnight bag I'd packed earlier, the one I'd hidden in the front closet. My lawyer will contact yours. Oh, and Claire? She looked up at me, tears starting to spill down her cheeks, ruining her perfect makeup. You might want to call Brad. I emailed LA Fitness about their trainer conducting affairs with married clients, mentioned the liability issues, the ethics violations, the potential lawsuits. Attached some of the footage, edited for content, of course. I imagine he'll be looking for work by Monday. The last thing I saw as I walked out was her scrambling for her phone, tears streaming, the frozen final frame of the video still on the TV. Her telling Brad she loved him while I was at a school board meeting discussing next year's budget. I spent that weekend at the Holiday Inn downtown, the one near the courthouse where I'd probably be spending more time soon. My phone exploded with calls and texts. Claire, begging to talk. Brad, threatening lawsuits. Friends who'd already heard through the small-town grapevine that something had happened at the principal's house. I turned it off and watched cable news, ordered room service, slept better than I had in months. By Monday, the news had spread like wildfire through our small Minnesota town. These things do in a place where everyone knows everyone. Claire had called in sick to work. Brad had been terminated from LA Fitness. They don't mess around with liability issues. The dashcam footage, while not public, had been described in enough detail by those who needed to know that the story took on a life of its own. I went to work as normal. Sat in my office, handled the end-of-year paperwork, met with parents about summer school. Margaret knocked on my door around lunch. You okay, boss? Fine. Why? She gave me a look that said she knew exactly why. Just checking. If you need anything. I need the attendance reports from the last month. States asking for updates on chronic absenteeism. She nodded, understanding that work was my refuge. I'll get those to you. The divorce proceeded with mechanical efficiency. Claire's lawyer, probably seeing the writing on the wall or the footage on the screen, advised her to accept my terms. The house remained mine, offset by her keeping more of the retirement accounts. No alimony either way. Clean break. 15 years dissolved in 15 minutes before a judge who'd seen it all before. Claire moved to an apartment complex on the other side of town, the kind with a gym and pool that attracted young professionals and recent divorcees. Brad had disappeared entirely. LinkedIn showed him relocating to Florida, trying to restart his training business where nobody knew his reputation. The dashcam remained active in the Honda, still uploading to my cloud account. I'd told Claire about it during the division of assets, even offered to remove it. She'd declined, whether from embarrassment or apathy I couldn't tell. So it stayed, a digital guardian recording her new life in parking lots and drive-thrus. I checked it occasionally at first. Watched her drive to work, to the grocery store, to her lawyer's office. Mundane trips of a life reorganizing itself. No passengers for the first month. Then gradually, signs of recovery. A co-worker getting a ride to lunch. Her sister visiting from Chicago. Normal life resuming its rhythm. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I stood in my empty house on a Saturday morning, making coffee in the same kitchen where this had all started. The silence was different now, not lonely, just quiet. Peaceful even. My phone buzzed. Michelle, the new English teacher, wondering if I wanted to grab coffee and discuss the summer reading program. We'd been having a lot of coffee lately. Professional meetings that lasted longer than necessary. Conversations that drifted from curriculum to life. Give me 30 minutes, I texted back. Perfect. Courthouse coffee? See you there. I showered, dressed in weekend casual instead of principal formal. Checked myself in the mirror and saw someone I recognized again. Not the paranoid husband reviewing footage every night. Not the betrayed spouse planning revenge. Just Nathan Torres, high school principal, coffee drinker, bad joke teller. Whole again, if scarred. As I drove to meet Michelle, I passed the Jiffy Lube where this had all started. Jake was outside, changing the promotional banner. He waved, and I waved back. Just another customer. Just another Saturday. The dash cam was still installed in my car, recording the route, capturing the wave, documenting this new chapter. I'd thought about removing it, but decided against it. Trust but verify, as the saying goes. Not because I suspected Michelle of anything. She was as transparent as Claire had been opaque. But because I'd learned that the best time to install a security system is before you need it. At the coffee shop, Michelle was already there, grading papers at a corner table. She looked up and smiled, genuine, reaching her eyes. No secrets hiding behind it. You're late, she said, by 2 minutes. Traffic was murder. Some guy waving at the Jiffy Lube. She laughed and I sat down, and we talked about books and students and summer plans. Normal conversation. Honest conversation. The kind where nobody was checking their phone for messages from someone else. Later, walking back to our cars, she asked, "Are you really okay? I know the past few months have been challenging." I was going to say hellish, but you're the principal. I should watch my language. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. Sometimes things need to break before they can be fixed properly. She nodded, understanding without needing details. We'd all heard the rumors, the speculation, the whispered conversations in the teacher's lounge. Small towns don't keep secrets well. Coffee again next week? She asked. I'd like that. As I drove home, I thought about Claire, not with anger anymore, or even sadness, just a distant kind of curiosity. Was she happy? Had it been worth it? Did she ever think about those Tuesday and Thursday drives, knowing now that every word had been recorded, every moment documented? The dash cam footage would tell me if I looked. Her patterns, her passengers, her new life playing out in digital clarity. But I didn't look. Not anymore. The past was preserved in those files, terabytes of betrayal and consequences, but I was living in the present. Still, I kept the cloud storage active. $15 a month for peace of mind. For the lesson learned. For the reminder that trust is earned in drops and lost in buckets. For the knowledge that sometimes the smallest details, an oil change, a casual question, a mechanic's good memory, can save you from a lifetime of deception. The camera recorded my drive home just as it recorded everything else. Silent witness to the ordinary moments that make up a life. Most of those moments would never be reviewed, never matter to anyone. But they were there just in case. Because you never know when you might need to prove where you were, who you were with, what was said. Because sometimes a dash cam doesn't just show you the road ahead. Sometimes it shows you the road you've been on, the one you couldn't see clearly while you were driving it. And sometimes that view in the rearview mirror is worth more than any forward-facing camera could ever capture. The end.